because any
Now
kind
you're
of
going to be known as a transphobic now.
well, I'm not saying whether I'm against it or not. I'm not,
Right.
you know,
It doesn't matter though.
well, no, I don't care. You know, it's
Right,
like what
yeah.
people do with their own bodies, what
Yeah,
adults do with their bodies.
Yeah.
You do what you like. You know, if you want to chop off your legs or whatever, I don't care. It's your
Right.
legs. You know, but that's the purpose of it. They think that any boundary or border is a form of oppression, and therefore they should be
But then
erased.
things are either, for me, things either make sense or they don't.
Yes.
Right. So the male weightlifter, right, who entered the female competition, he became trans, and then he won the competition.
Yeah.
And then the male wrestler,
Yeah.
who became a woman again and won it twice in a row,
Yeah.
2 years in a row. It doesn't make sense to do that,
No.
right?
Not at all.
But the trans, for me, the trans community will have you believe that this makes sense.
Yeah, the irony of all of this is that all of women's sports will eventually be dominated by people who are born male.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, I would say maybe have a trans sports
Maybe.
thing,
Why not?
You know, trans Olympics or something like that. But to make, you know, trans people enter women's sports to me is crazy.
It's obviously unfair. You know, like there's no question that men have a physical, biological advantage over women in sports or, you know, anything physical they do. You know, women are just not biologically built to do the sort of thing men do.
Of course.
Because the roles are meant to be complementary, not adversarial.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it is crazy, but it's the inevitable consequence of intersectional feminism, and they're seeing the results of it now.
What do we do to stop it?
Honestly, I honestly think we need to be very wary of anyone who says equality at any cost, because this is the any cost that we're looking at. The eradication of women's sports is going to be part of the any cost, because in their minds, trans women are women, and so essentially why you would have any ideology is to have an accurate representation of reality. So what you believe should correspond to reality.
Right.
And so if they say trans women are women, what they're doing is saying, right, there's a social construct that you have in your mind of what a woman is. You know, it's made up of certain data points. You know, it's like, you know, XX chromosomes. You know that she's going to dress in a certain way. She's going to have breasts, and you know, exactly. You know, but you know, more like that, like long hair. You know, makeup. You know, there are lots of things. You know, some major, some minor. But this is what we view as a woman, and what they're saying is, right, the biological part is actually not necessary to what we consider to be a woman, and so essentially we can take any biological part, and if a man fulfills the same gender role, as in, you know, wears makeup, you know, expects to have the door open for her, you know, things like that, whatever the gender role, then that's a woman, and you have to treat it like it's a biological. Exactly. Because they're social constructivists is what it's called. We would what would be called biological essentialists. We believe that the biological reality of it informs the gender role, and that there's a reason that happened. I mean, it's obvious that men and women living in close proximity and needing to form relationships with one another have to figure out a way of communicating that to each other, and you can't know every woman, so it makes sense to have a series of repeated patterns that we can each recognize. So if if a woman comes in and, you know, she's obviously a woman, what she's doing is signaling a lot of things to me before I've even spoken to her.
Right.
You know, so I know that I'm not going to be rough with her. I'm not going to, I'm going to open the door or pull out a chair or something like that. You know, whatever the cultural norm for men to do with women are, and obviously women do the reverse with men because of our signifiers. And what they're saying is, no, none of that matters. And I'm sorry, but I think it does matter.
No, I think it does.